Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. We're very glad to have all of you here today. President Rhonda is under the weather, and so I'm filling in for her. In the true spirit of the four-way test, she decided not to come and spread her illness to the rest of us. So that's a true demonstration of what we're all about. Given our speaker today and all the items that we have on our agenda, I cannot be more excited to be up here for President Rhonda, so I'll find a way somehow to thank her for being sick, if that's ever appropriate. Looks like our volunteers are already up here. Our invocation will be given by Lynette Potter, the song and pledge by Jerry Murator, on the piano, as always, almost always, Tom Wolf. The visitor introductions will also be by Jerry Murator. And now for our invocation, here's Lynette Potter.
In honorance today of the anniversary that will be next week, I would like for us to have a silent prayer, and please keep in mind the gratitude for the contrast in life for both the people that have passed and those that are in their prime today. Can we bow our heads for 20 seconds? Amen.
Please join me in singing the national anthem followed by the pledge. Oh, so banner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome you all to Rotary Club 2500, District 6110. We heard the words in a song last Wednesday night. I know a club where, what is it, truth abounds? Peace abides. Peace abides and fellowship holds sway. I have no idea what the heck that means, but it sounds good, doesn't it? And that's that was written about 100 years ago by some guy, and he's going to be, that music will be on the back of the books that you get as Rotarians of the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Look at those words, because 100 years later, they still hold true. It's a club where peace abides. We're going to welcome our guests, as is our tradition. I'm going to mention the host and the visitor. And if the host and the visitor, host, Rotarian, and the visitors would please stand momentarily, and we'll look at you, but we won't acknowledge all until the very end, okay? We just want to check out and see if you're dressed appropriately, okay? Rotarian Tim Colwell has brought the better part of his family, Patty Colwell, Tony Oliva, got it, has brought from the Noria Corporation, Demian Kritikos. Scott Petty has brought Kathy Bondi from the French Hen. Harlan Pinkerton, who is a guest Rotarian, a visiting Rotarian, I'll acknowledge you later, has brought Jane Cowdery. Linda Bradshaw has a couple of different guests who participated in that fantastic celebration Wednesday. How many were there? All right. Anytime Linda Bradshaw invites you to anything, go. It's great. Felicia Jackson from the Hyatt Regency and Kristen Ferguson from TES Productions. Casey King has brought Keisha Holloway from the Doubletree. Jack McGlumphy has brought a co-worker, Charles Groom. Rhonda Daniels from the Rotaract Club has brought Hunter Maddock. I learned to write better. Paula Wood has brought Roxanne Minnick from the March of Dimes. Elaine Dishman has brought Jenny Curtis from Regent Bank. Matt Davis' guest today is Hannah Robson. Tom Klenda and Daniel Ketchum are hosting Oklahoma Insurance Commissioner John Doak, who's an honorary Rotary member. Del Dreyer has brought a prospective new member, Ojo Wellington. Welcome, Ojo. And guest of our speaker today is Jamie Bloyd. Welcome, Jamie. Visiting Rotarians this week from the Sand Springs Club, Harlan Pinkerton. I should have looked at this. I think it's from the Denver Club. Is that right? Tim Price. Hi, Tim. Is it Denver? Oh, great. Well, you can be a member of our club, you know. We'd love to have you. From the Southside Club, Lynn Fesperman. Hi, Lynn. And from Southeast Tulsa, Dan Alabak. Welcome to you all, and come back anytime.
It's time for us to recognize this week's Rotary sponsors and thank them for their supporting our club activities. Terry Lawson from Vision Source, James Adair from Claude Neon Federal Signs, Ed Monette from Monette and Associates, and Scott Petty from Petty's Fine Foods. We encourage you to do business with these Rotarians and all your fellow Rotarians. In addition to the sponsors, let's take a moment to thank all the volunteers who make the meetings run so well. And now, Matt Davis will make his way to the front for a memorial resolution for LaVan Kelly.
Before I share this resolution with you, I'd love for the Kelly family to stand. They are all here with us today and be welcomed. I say all, but they have a huge family, so some of them are here anyway. Forrest LaVan Kelly, known to everyone as LaVan, was born at home in Bristow, Oklahoma, to Albert Kelly and Dorcas Burnham Tracy Kelly on October 21, 1924. He passed from this life on January 18, 2015, surrounded by loving family at age 90. And what a 90 years it was. LaVan learned his excellent work ethic from his successful parents. He graduated high school from the New Mexico Military Institute in 1942 and was conscripted into the U.S. Army, where he completed officer training and was assigned as an officer to the Pacific Theater. He was discharged from the military as a first lieutenant in 1946 and graduated 2 years later from the University of Oklahoma with a degree in finance. Together with his mother and brothers, LaVan formed Kelly Brothers, a business trust that grew to encompass 3 large cattle ranches and extensive land holdings. He was also a long-term member of the board of directors of Spirit Bank, the successor to the American National Bank in Bristow and the Citizen State Bank in Okemah. LeVan married the love of his life, Betty Ross McMillan, in 1950, and they were married for 65 years at the time of his death, raising 3 children, Melinda, Brad, and Susan. LeVan was the embodiment of service above self and an outstanding Rotarian for 66 years, serving as president of the Bristow Rotary Club in 1955-56 and district governor in 1967-68. He was a mentor to countless Rotary leaders, coaching them with his famous handwritten letters of encouragement and his wise counsel. And I have to say, I have one of those letters sitting on the corner of my desk where it has been for years, and I read it over and over. Other examples of his selfless service include the Bristow City Council, president of the Bristow Public Schools Board of Education, vice president of the Bristow Chamber of Commerce, president and director of the Bristow Memorial Hospital Foundation, vice president and director of the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association, director and president of the Bristow United Fund, founding director of the Freeland Center for the Performing Arts in Bristow, founding member of the board of directors for the Inverness Continuing Care Retirement Community in Tulsa, and numerous other leadership roles. The Rotary Club of Tulsa was fortunate to accept LeVan into membership on August 23, 2006, after LeVan and Betty moved to Tulsa, sponsored by LeVan's good friend Bob Leenocker. LeVan was preceded in death by his daughter Susan Kelly Fesperman, his parents, and 2 brothers. He is survived by his wife Betty, brothers William Royce Kelly and Allison Asbury Kelly, son Brad Kelly, daughter Melinda Kelly Mercer and her husband Dr. Melville Mercer, Susan's husband Raymond Lynn Fesperman, nieces, nephews, and grandchildren. Therefore, be it resolved that the Rotary Club of Tulsa extend our deepest sympathy to LeVan's family and many friends. On behalf of the club, we ask that our membership vote this resolution's approval by standing and sharing a moment of silence.
Thank you, Matt. On behalf of the club, we also extend condolences to the family of past District Governor Tom Clark, who passed away this past Saturday. A celebration of Tom's life will be held at 2 p.m. Saturday, April the 18th at Riverfield Country Day School, which Tom co-founded along with his wife, Marty. Condolence cards are on your tables for extending your sympathies to Rotarian Jean Budd on the passing of her mother, Marion Griffith, who was a longtime Dallas Rotarian, I understand. I'd like to take a moment to thank and recognize Stu McDaniel's Camp Enterprise Committee and volunteers. Camp is Thursday, that would be tomorrow, through Sunday of this week, and we appreciate all the hours that Stu and all of the volunteers will be contributing to the great camp experience for these high school juniors. By the way, the camp is at New Life Ranch, just east of Tulsa. There's a flyer on your table about steak night at Camp Enterprise this Saturday, April 11th. The meal is sponsored by Texas Roadhouse, so the food is free, but you need to make advance reservations. Notify the office or use the email from John Raines, which hopefully all of you got, to reserve a plate of great barbecue on steak night Saturday. Mark your calendars for Saturday, May the 9th. It's our next work day at the Medical Supplies Network from 9 in the morning until noon. If you want to volunteer, see Brenda Melancon. Brenda, are you here? There she is. You have no excuse now. You know where Brenda is, so go volunteer. Just a reminder about today's committee meetings. Classifications will meet in room 234, and the IBA Table Sales Committee will meet in the Beacon Room. And now, if Tom and his guest will make their way up here, we have a very important announcement about the 2015 IBA Awards.
Thank you, Rookie President-elect Jeff. Our 22nd annual Henry P. Iba Citizen Athlete Awards, our annual fundraiser for our club foundation, is coming up soon on Monday, June 22nd at the Renaissance Hotel. If you've not ordered your tickets, pick up a form on the table on your way out. This year we have another stellar lineup. Our female honoree is Melissa Arnott, who has climbed Mount Everest a record 5 times, and next month will climb a record 6 times before our IBA event on June 22nd. Back again is our Master of Ceremonies, is CBS College basketball analyst Seth Davis. And if you watch any of the March Madness games, you definitely saw Seth on CBS. Our keynote speaker this year is Illinois State basketball coach Barry Henson. Barry's coached at Kansas, Missouri State, and even here at ORU and Bishop Kelly. And here today to announce our male honoree is former Rotarian Marquay Ball. Marquay is Vice President, Private Banking in his 14th year with Arvest Bank, and he manages the banking and finances of professional athletes, including our male honoree, as well as physicians, executives, and business owners. He obtained his business management degree from ORU as a graduate of Leadership Tulsa, serves as vice chair of Metropolitan Tulsa Transit Authority Board, and serves on other local nonprofits. 2012, he was recognized by Oklahoma Magazine as one of Oklahoma's top 40 business leaders under the age of 40. Please give a big welcome back, Rotary welcome for Marquay Ball.
I'm just a little bit taller than Tom, so I'm going to raise this up. Well, good afternoon, everyone. This has been a very, very warm welcome. It's been an honor to see a lot of wonderful faces, and I'm starting to think, based on the conversations that I had with Dale and Tom and a few other Rotarian members, that this was more about me rejoining than me actually presenting the male honoree. I said this is a new recruitment strategy you guys have employed here at Rotary. I said I can get with it though, Tom. It's been awesome. This year is actually a pretty exciting year that we're going to have, and I can say it's probably a little bit more special to me, not just because this individual is a client, but because I've had the unique opportunity to develop in a relationship with him that's more like a big brother, younger brother situation. And I do have the wonderful privilege and pleasure of serving some of our nation's top professional athletes as their wealth advisor, and more often, these are young men, more often their life coach. It has driven me back to go get my master's degree in human relations, and that is not a joke. Literally, it's been a fun opportunity, but this particular individual, I would probably say it's a little special this year, not just because he's a Tulsa, Oklahoman, which is a very, very big deal. As a matter of fact, as I look at the IBA Award history, has only been 2 Oklahomans, or 2 Tulsa natives rather, and he being the actual second one. It perhaps had a little bit to do with the fact that when he graduated college, he went into the professional football rankings as an undrafted rookie with a meager $2,000 signing bonus just to work out in the tryout for the team. Not only did he make the team, but he had a very impressive rookie year to actually garner a few awards that I had to jot down. He was actually voted on the all-rookie team, breakout player of the year, and the overachiever of the year his rookie season. Maybe it had a little bit to do with this being a little bit more special because he really did have to fight through a lot of obscurity in being one of the most underrated performers and cornerbacks in the National Football League to be the highest rated professional cornerback in the National Football League for the last 2 years straight. In this last year, it actually had a precipice of him making the All-Pro team in his first Pro Bowl, and selfishly as his wealth advisor, it may have had a little to do with the fact that he signed almost a $50 million contract this year as well. But without further ado, I would probably say this is the most relatable thing that you all would be able to glean from him being able to be awarded this honor this year. And it had a little bit to do with that 408 test, and we were over there talking about that. And from my time here, I did remember that, and it's an actual good canon or list of things that we can all kind of guide what we say, think, and do. And as I looked at that, and it said, is it the truth? And I started identifying some of the areas that he's actually lived his life, not just on the football field, but in his personal life. His walk has been very consistent, has been very uncompromising in his faith, with his family, and with his football passion. Is it fair? And I started thinking about the Webster's definition of fairness, and that's not treating someone else better than someone else. And when I look at the work that he's done in the community, it's been a mission of his to actually tip the balance or create a more equal playing field for those of who that are least, and that's the youth in this community and those who are impoverished and who are at risk. And then I look at the third one, is it provide goodwill and friendships. Well, everything this young man does provides goodwill. He is an energetic young man. He's a very honest and authentic individual. And is it beneficial? This individual has given over $15,000 worth of scholarships just in the last couple of years, and with this particular contract, he is investing hundreds of thousands in his own personal foundation that he and his beautiful wife has started, and he's going to be investing in the Oklahoma, the Texas, and the Denver area with his foundation and youth. He's partnered with Salvation Army and a host of other mentoring agencies, one that me and my father actually started ourselves here to target at-risk children and youth in the North Tulsa area. So I am more than happy to present our 2015 IBA Male Award honoree, and that's Mr. Chris Harris, Jr., cornerback of the Denver Broncos. Now, I would be more than remiss to say this is the first individual client that I've had that's garnered some type of award, but this is very, very special to him, and he had a few words to share, and we prepared a video, which I told them God gave me broad shoulders for a reason. We had a video prepared for him, but we got the video a little late. I'm not for sure if we're actually able to play the video today. I'm not for sure. He's giving me the church finger. That's the hold on finger. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. I tease. Well, this is some anticipation, and I do mind you.
And I'm very excited to be able to receive this award. I'm very thankful to be able to receive the donation, to be able to help expand onto my foundation and what I'm doing in Colorado, Oklahoma, and Texas. Me being an underdog and growing up in this community, in the Tulsa community, I've always wanted to be a person that be able to give back, and I've always had my heart into the children. To be able to receive this award, I'm very grateful. I'm very excited to be able to come back to Oklahoma and be able to share this award with you guys.
Very short video for a very busy man, but nonetheless, we are extremely excited. Do we have another video to play, Tom? Okay, good. I guess that is my time. Now, I will say this. I just got out of an employment law training session, and we've learned about contracts. Tom, you had me sign something before I got up here. I did not read the fine print. He said it had something to do with IBA, so if you guys see me on the membership list, you know what that's all about, okay? It has been my time, and I do appreciate you all so much for recognizing Chris Harris Jr. for this outstanding award and having me up here to present it for such an outstanding individual. God bless you all.
Got a couple of side mic. Thank you, Markway. It's really good to see you, by the way. And I'm not trying to get you to sign up. I really mean that. A couple of side mic announcements first. Hunter Maddox on Rotaract.
Hey, just following up from a month ago. We're 2 weeks away from our annual fundraiser, Wine, Cheese, and Chocolate. Things are going great. Everything's secured. Ticket sales, so we're trying to get all our ticket sales done. We're at a good starting point. We're roughly about 45% of the way, so we could really use a lot more ticket sales. We appreciate all the support from the sponsors, and hopefully you guys can make it April 23rd. Thanks.
So what can you say about the gala? So I will just say a little, and then I will let Linda really say it. During the Centennial Gala, those of you who were there remember this, and those of you who are not might like to know that we received a flag of the United States that was flown over the Capitol, and at the request of Senator Inhofe, this flag was flown for the Rotary to celebrate the Centennial in recognition of veteran service on Flag Day, June the 14th. And I believe it's out in the hallway, right, Linda? So we wanted to make sure and remind everyone to take a look at that. It's really neat. Without further ado, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you very much. 2 years ago, the planning began. An event choreographed to honor, to preserve, to reflect, and to look to our future with hope. A celebration that would have grandeur, emotion, and humor. And so the story is being told on billboards, and it was also being told on tall buildings. Thank you, Williams, for the 100 salute. As co-chair with Tim Colwell, I first of all would like to thank him for asking me to work with him over these past 2 years. He's been working diligently on an incredible book that you all will be receiving very shortly. So I'm going to end. I know that everybody probably wonders, how did it happen? And so today, you're going to meet those who had a key role in that evening. And as I ask you to stand, I want you to remain standing. The Centennial Committee implemented the planned event by assisting in mail-outs on 2 occasions. They organized tickets for distribution and an oversight of the reception areas. They were an amazing sounding board helping with the decisions, making as the plans progressed. In particular, Tricia Kirkstra for assistance in menu and contract assistance at the Hyatt, Karen Keith and Tim Colwell working with Jack Frank on our historical documentary video, which you will all receive in your historical book when it's finished, to our photographer, Jerry Cornelius extraordinaire. Our keynote speaker, Muzan Biggs, as always, delivered a heart-rendering message. And our Centennial Master of Ceremonies, need I say more? Ed Monette was special. Our special guest, I don't see anybody standing, but I guess you're out there. Our special guest, Oklahoma Governor Mary Fallin, was present, and I thanked her yesterday for that. Special appreciation goes to Dale Dreyer, who hosted Wilkinson during his stay for 2 days, to Tom Wolfe on that beautiful piano, to Jim Daniel for Oklahoma City Club, to Dr. Dale Smith from Branson, District Governor Herb Orr, to Norm Simon for a beautiful invocation, to the Fire and Police Honor Guard, to Tom Byers, to Chuck Wilson. The list goes on. And to my good friend Jana Jay. So where do you go when you want a 100-piece member band to surround your room? You go to Bob Sade. So special thanks to Bob Sade and to Andrew Anderson, band director, who loaded up all of the instruments and students to perform for you that evening, the University of Tulsa Golden Hurricane Marching Band. They were an amazing celebration started. The First United Methodist Church Cathedral Choir would alter their choir rehearsal during Easter week to join our celebrations. A small, amazing group of musicians, and then the Donald Ryan Trio deserve our appreciations. And under the direction of my talented friend, Joseph Bias, the music provided was exceptional. A Crescendo Award winner, Mary Beth Nelson, came from Houston. Thank you to Joseph again for his willingness to get the song Hope orchestrated, and so that she could perform it with the live orchestra. Joseph, 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 during Easter week, you gave above and beyond for the celebrations. And then my dear friends at TES Productions that I worked with for years, and director Kristen Ferguson, my guest here today, she could not be here, but Michael Frankenberger, the owner of TES, they gave an amazing outpouring of their tech crew, providing staging, lighting, and sound. Thank you, Kristen Ferguson, for your perfection you brought to the evening. She's videoed the entire evening, and so if you were not there, you will have an opportunity to have a copy. Felicia Jackson from the Hyatt Regency, catering and sales manager, my guest here today as well. She provided a full day prior to the event so that we could set and stage free of charge, and so I thank the Hyatt for that. Thank you, Jerry Dillon and the Rotary Men of Note. Your participation would have brought a smile to founder Jimmy Sade. Ron Butler, you are absolutely invaluable as you continually provided beautiful graphics, and you were always there with a smile. Thank you, Ron, for not turning me down. Thank you, Eric Ortega. Sharon King Davis provided the spirit poles and has gifted 75 of them to our club to help to sell and to help defray our expenses. They are available as souvenirs for $100, so if you're interested in having one of those souvenirs, please see me. Joe Mathis, J.A. Mathis Company event producer. His talents were amazing. If you enjoyed the centerpieces on the table, the decor of the room, we have him to thank. He loved the evening so much that he's decided to join this Rotary Club of Tulsa. President Rhonda is not here today, but I must tell you, her leadership has been amazing. And last but not least, I must tell you, we have an amazing past president, Hal Allen, who, when he realized that we did not have enough funds for this event, stepped up and gave $15,000 towards the success of the evening. And so on behalf of this entire membership, I thank everyone, and especially I thank Tim Caldwell because he's been an amazing person to work with. Thank you very much.
How about that abbreviated version of the Sergeant at Arms?
I can be quick. This is shorter than it normally is. I'm just gonna. No, I'm not. All right. So we have a few slides up to get through today, and going back a couple of weeks. So I'm gonna try and whip through them. Anyone who's not normally with the club, all the fines today go to the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation, which is our local foundation here serving the Tulsa area. So Matt Morton had a 25th birthday on the 31st of March and gave $25, so thank you very much, Matt, and happy birthday. Darren Wolcott had a birthday on the 25th of March, and he's also been in the Rotary Club here for a couple of years in the same month, so $50. Thank you very much, Darren. So we have quite a few birthdays that are actually falling today. The first is a mystery lady Rotarian whose birthday was today, and she gave $100, so you know who you are. Thank you very much. Joe Moran wanted me to make mention of the award that was given to Kerry Watkins, who's the executive director of the Oklahoma City National Memorial, who was honored with the Lee Allen Smith Legacy Award. And you can see Lee Allen Smith on the left, Kerry Watkins, and then Shannon Rich, the CEO of the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, and Joe. So thank you very much, Joe, and thank you to Kerry for all the incredible work she does. Thank you. So Jerry was kind enough to give me $1 because his birthday's on April Fool's Day, and if your birthday's on April Fool's Day, that's about the most you think it's worth. But he also gave $200 to our centennial, so thank you very much, Jerry, and happy birthday. So Bob Sade has a birthday today, 71 years on the earth, and he's had perfect attendance on the earth every day of those 71 years. And he's also had perfect attendance in 38 years in Rotary, which, if that is real, and that's real, 38 years. I haven't had perfect attendance this year as Sarge, so that's incredible. So he gave us double points for both of those, and then he also did want to mention that it's Bob Leneker and Paddy Colwell's birthday, who are here also, so that rounded up to $250. So thank you very much, Bob. So when Tim heard about this, he didn't want to be outdone by Bob. I like the way this works. So he also wanted to give some money, first of all for his beautiful wife, Patty, who you'll see pictured here. And then I did not provide these photos of Bob Leneker, who's the middle one, and Bob Sade, who's the third one down. If you're not up close, you can come and see these later, but I imagine Tim's going to have some explaining to do in a minute. But thank you very much, Tim, for $100. So for anyone who thought that they didn't have time or energy to go and help at Camp Enterprise, Jarl is turned 85 on March 27th, and he's going to be there tomorrow helping out with Camp Enterprise, and he's also giving $300 towards it. So thank you very much, Jarl, and happy birthday. I don't know how you could let this one go without some kind of a mention. I was also happened to be sat next to Jana Jay, and she did say that he was one of the best bow holders that she'd ever come across. So you have a real future in playing other people's instruments, Ed. And for that, I'll give you $50, so thank you very much. And this is my little plug. I've got 11 weeks left as Sarge. So far, we have announced $31,000 of fines since July 1st, 236 fines from Rotarians in this club, which is overwhelming for me. We have 11 weeks left. I was hoping to raise 40 grand by the end of the year, all of which goes to the foundation. So thank you all. And my one thing to say now is I know that I'm sending notes out to people who've already been generous, and I've been flagged for it a couple of times, that they've already given a couple of times, but There are quite a few Rotarians that I have to email, so if you bear with me with that. But thank you all so much for every contribution and the fun that you've made this job for me. So thank you.
Our Rotarian of the day today is Greg Frizzell. Any other place, I would call him the Honorable Greg Frizzell. He is the Chief Judge of the United States District Court for the Northern District of Oklahoma here in Tulsa and has served as a federal judge since 2007. He's a Paul Harris Fellow and a Club Foundation Fellow. Please welcome our Rotarian of the day, Greg Frizzell.
President-elect Jeff, I will not use former President Tom's title for you. Fellow Rotarians, our speaker today is a fellow Rotarian from the Enid Club. Stephen Jones graduated in 1966 from the University of Oklahoma College of Law, then at Monette Hall, and settled in Enid, Oklahoma, where he still lives. He is reportedly the only former chairman of the Republican State Committee who also has served as general counsel for the Oklahoma chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union. He is a courageous advocate, and I could list many cases for you, including Abby Hoffman, Father Philip Berrigan, but I learned of one today that I think kind of sets the tone and stage for who he is. In 1970, only 4 years out of law school, he was dismissed from his Enid law firm because he took up the case of Keith Green, who one day after the shootings at Kent State was arrested in Norman, Oklahoma for carrying a Viet Cong flag. Our speaker later had the state law declared unconstitutional. 20 years ago, Mr. Jones was asked by Chief United States District Judge David Russell to represent Timothy McVeigh, charged with the murder of 168 people in the bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. He did not hesitate to take on the immense task and the immense duty that came with that appointment. Speaking today about that case with the benefit of 20 years of perspective is an extraordinary Oklahoman, Stephen Jones.
Thank you, Judge Frizzell, and it's a pleasure and a privilege for me to be here today. I think before I start, though, that I should tell you that some of the things I'm going to tell you today may seem unusual or out of place because lawyers have a duty of confidentiality toward their client. And that confidentiality or the attorney-client privilege does not end upon death. So it still exists for Mr. McVeigh, except that without the knowledge of his subsequent appellate lawyers, he gave 75 hours of on-the-record, tape-recorded interviews to two Buffalo, New York reporters who wrote a book called American Terrorist. There are sealed decisions in appropriate courts that determine that Mr. McVeigh waived almost the entire privilege of confidentiality and the attorney-client privilege by his disclosures to the Buffalo newspaper reporters. So ordinarily, I'm able to tell you some things that I could not tell you but for that. Let me begin by telling you that on April the 19th, 1995, between the hours of 11 and 11:05 on the East Coast, every major news network in this country interrupted their regular broadcasting. The first to go on the air at 11:02 was Dan Rather of CBS News. And this is what he told the American people. The Oklahoma City Police Department has confirmed to CBS News that between 9 o'clock and 9:05 Central Standard Time a little more than an hour ago. A car-truck bomb said to be of unusual force and strength was detonated and exploded in downtown Oklahoma City in front of a 9-story federal office building with more than 500 people working there. The building and much of the surrounding business district has been heavily damaged or destroyed. Frantic rescue efforts are underway to recover the wounded. A general fire alarm is now sounding throughout Oklahoma City. The mayor has acknowledged that the city has sustained this morning what he called a Stage 1 disaster. Firefighting and rescue equipment from as far away as Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Wichita Falls, Texas, is en route. The city's largest hospital, St. Anthony's, owned by the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Oklahoma City, has declared a code black, discharging all patients in any way ambulatory in order to make way for the dozens arriving at the emergency bays from the bombing site. It has asked its sister hospital, Mercy, operated by the Catholic Order of the Sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus Christ, to accept the overflow. The University of Oklahoma's Children's Hospital has also been closed to further admissions. It, too, has been swamped with emergency cases. The FAA has suspended flights into and out of Oklahoma City. Tinker Air Force Base, east of downtown, has been closed and sealed. Governor Frank Keating has ordered the state capitol building evacuated, and the Internal Revenue Service and the FBI office have likewise been evacuated. The Department of Justice has now confirmed that it is investigating the crime of the use of a weapon of mass destruction this morning in Oklahoma City. The Commissioner for Public Safety has ordered the suspension of emergency rescue efforts because a second and third explosive device have been found. He has ordered an immediate evacuation of the downtown residential, commercial, and governmental districts. Air raid sirens are now sounding in downtown Oklahoma City. The governor of Oklahoma, Frank Keating, is said to be on the telephone at this very moment with the President of the United States, preparing a joint response to this terrible tragedy. CBS News interrupts and cancels indefinitely all regularly scheduled commercial broadcasting in order that we may bring to you coverage of the events in Oklahoma City. CBS is now joined by its worldwide affiliates of 359 stations who will identify themselves for their local audiences. This is a CBS News special report. April the 19th, 1995, terror in the heartland, the Oklahoma City bombing. For those of us that lived in Oklahoma that day, a state of barely 3 million people, we all remember what we were doing. It is the Pearl Harbor Day of Oklahoma. It was the greatest mass murder in this country's history up to 9/11. It was the greatest amount of damage, 198 people killed, grandfathers and grandmothers and grandchildren, mothers and fathers and daughters and sisters and aunts and uncles and co-workers, lovers, employees. 5 married couples died together, 2 sets of infant brothers, a mother heavy with child, and friends. We had over 500 people injured, many of them seriously, blind, deaf, those who lost a leg or an arm or an eye. We had $800 million worth of uninsured coverage in the damage. Hundreds of mom and pop businesses destroyed, federal criminal, Social Security, recruiting efforts for the military, all adversely affected. Death and escape from death seemed to be determined by factors that were not important at the time. Florence Rogers, the manager of the credit union in the Murrah building, called a meeting at 9 o'clock in her office, and the 6 executives of the credit union, all women, came and sat in a semicircle in front of her. When the bomb exploded, those 6 fell to their deaths. The crater stopped just at Florence Rogers' desk. An Air Force sergeant got up from his chair to go to another room, and in the process, another NCO sat down in the chair to fill out a form. When the explosion happened, he fell to his death. The chair, the occupant that it originally belonged to, survived. This was a scar and a never-ending wrong that affected not only Oklahoma City and the people there, but the nation at large. And perhaps most revealing, over 30,000 Oklahomans sought emotional and psychological therapeutic intervention as a result of the shock that day. So today we approach the 20th anniversary. I was telephoned at home on May the 5th at night by Chief Judge David Russell, who, when I answered the phone, it was identified, and he said, "Well, I guess you know why I'm calling you." And I said, "I have no idea why you're calling me. Federal judges don't usually call you at home on Friday night, and if they do, it's usually bad news." He said, "Well, I'll come straight to the point. We've had a meeting down here, the other judges and myself, and we have a question we want to ask you." And I said, "What is the question?" He said, "We want to know, if asked, will you accept the representation of an individual who has been charged or will be charged in the Oklahoma City bombing?" I said, "I don't have a professional problem with it. I understand what you're trying to do. And I've certainly been involved in some controversial cases. After all, I represented John Dope one time. An insurance company wouldn't pay his claim, I think. But I said, I've never been involved in a case in which I thought my wife or children or my home or where I practice law or my associates would be endangered. And I think in fairness to them, I should talk to them." He said, "I understand. How long will that take?" And I said, "About 24 hours. He said, "Call me back at this number at 6:30 tomorrow night," which would be Saturday, "and tell me your answer." I said I would. I talked with my wife, who was out for the evening, came home, and we called each of our children, and the next day I talked with my associates who worked for me and some of my clients to advise them that I would need to get new lawyers for them if I accepted the case. I agreed to accept it. At the time that I agreed to accept it, I thought I was qualified. I'd handled bombing cases before. I'd been the Republican nominee for the United States Senate in 1990. I had been Richard Nixon's personal research assistant in 1964 when he moved to New York from California and before he became president. I'd worked for members of the Senate and House. I'd been a staff member associated with the Congressional Committee on the Oversight of the Intelligence Community, and I'd practiced law for 25 years. I'd even worked when I was a young man at a funeral home in Houston. So all of this, I thought, prepared me for the role of being Mr. McVeigh's lawyer, and that's who I was appointed to represent. I viewed my job as to do it zealously, not with one arm tied behind my back, but to see that nothing was taken from Mr. McVeigh, neither his life nor his liberty, except by due process of law. I viewed the attack on the Murrah building and the other buildings around it as an attack on our constitutional system. That's what it was at its bottom. If that system could not give the person accused of that crime a fair trial consistent with the Constitution, then our values were endangered. And we were not the republic that we thought we were. Fortunately, Judge Stephanie Seymour of Tulsa, who was then Chief Judge of the United States Court of Appeals, had the duty to assign a judge once the Oklahoma City judges were recused. She chose a remarkable man, Richard L. Mage of Denver, Colorado, who was fair. He was objective, and he was considerate not only of me and my family, but my client. I do not think I would be alive here today and talking with you but for the consideration and security that Judge Mage gave me and my family. And I say that without reservation and in no attempt to gild the lily. I simply believe it to be true. Those were terrible days for us. My family supported me. Every day I thought it was a challenge with something new. I had very good associates who helped me and some wonderful expert witnesses, and I went all over the world, from Scotland to Wales to Northern Ireland to Macau to Hong Kong to the Philippines to Damascus, Amman, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, some rural co-ops in western Kansas and Kingman, Arizona, which must undoubtedly be the meth capital of the world. All of that was to find expert witnesses or investigate the facts. So in the minute that I have left, I want to, well, then I'll conclude by telling you two things which I've not spoken of before. First, I want to acknowledge that the Roman Catholic Church, and particularly the Archbishop of Denver, as well as the Holy Father then, John Paul II, were supportive of our efforts to avoid the death penalty for Tim McVeigh. Time does not permit me to go into those truly extraordinary efforts. I will tell you that on the second anniversary of the bombing, after I listened the day before to every church in Denver's carillon ring 168 times in memory of the dead, that I was called by a newspaper reporter and told that the Archbishop had read a pastoral letter, and that letter was read throughout every pulpit in the Archdiocese on capital punishment. I had no knowledge that would be done. The Archbishop said that the imposition of capital punishment in all circumstances by the state is contrary to the teachings of Christ and His Church. Mercy is a greater quality than justice. When Mr. McVeigh was about to be executed, Pope John Paul II wrote a private letter, handwritten to the President of the United States, asking him to spare his life. And secondly, during the Cold War, when I was in Washington, I became acquainted with a man named Stanislaw Pawlak, who was a communist. He was first secretary of the Polish embassy. He was a new communist. His wife had been a prisoner of the Germans during the war. He had started his career under the mentorship of Adam Rapaki, the Polish foreign minister, following the events, dramatic as they were, of the Polish October of 1956. And Pawlak had originally started in the Far East and then had come to Washington on a matter involving the Vietnam conflict. And he in his early 30s, me in my late 20s, we became friends. And throughout the nearly 50 years since then, we have remained friends. And when evidence came to me about the possibility of foreign involvement, I thought the evidence so compelling and so unusual that I needed somebody that would be clear-headed and objective. At that time, Stanislaw Pawlak had been Polish ambassador to the United Nations. The young Polish communist diplomat that I knew had risen in the Polish hierarchy and even retained by the Solidarity government when communism fell as Poland's ambassador to the UN. He was vice president of the General Assembly and Poland's representative on the Security Council. In 1966, he was Poland's ambassador to Syria and the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, and High Commissioner to the peacekeeping force separating Syria from Israel at the Golan Heights, because Poland contributed the largest number of soldiers. He was also a member and former president of the Rotary Club of Warsaw, Poland. So with Judge Meech's permission, I flew to Damascus. He met me at the airport, took me into town, and the next day, because he knew I wanted to speak with him confidentially, he took my wife and I to Bostra, Syria, which is the site of an ancient Roman ruin built 2,000 years ago, an amphitheater much like the Colosseum in Rome. Stan asked me if Cheryl would distract his driver because his driver was a member of Syrian military intelligence, and there was some puppet show, and so Cheryl got his attention, and he was telling her about the puppet show, and Stan and I climbed up to the top of the amphitheater in the September sun in the Syrian desert. When we were there, I handed him 20 pages folded, typewritten report. I said, I would like your evaluation of this information. He took it and read it slowly. There were just the two of us, two middle-aged, fair-skinned men with the sun bearing down on our increasingly bald heads. And I thought if the Archangel Michael was flying in the heavens over Syria that morning, what he must have thought to see us. And when he had finished reading it, he handed it back to me, and he thought for a moment, and he said, it's possible. Indeed, it's probable. He said, Stephen, during the Cold War, when you and I were on opposite sides, the world was sort of a condominium, a duplex. There was your side and our side. And in the West, no one seriously challenged the authority of the President of the United States. He was, as you said, the leader of the free world. And in the East, in the camp of real socialism, no one seriously challenged the authority of the General Secretary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. But the Cold War is over, and your side won. And your great diplomatic historian, George Kennan, once said that the Cold War is like two scorpions in a bottle. Well, the bottle has been broken, and the scorpions escaped, and one of them hatched eggs. And now the remains are in front of you. What you have seen is a look into the future. I concluded that the information that we had was accurate, and when I wrote the book, it appeared in 1998, there is a full chapter 3 years before 9/11 discussing Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, the Muslim network of terrorists in the Philippines and other places. Tim McVeigh once told me, he said, do you really believe that Terry Nichols went to the Philippines to associate with terrorists? I said, well, Tim, partner, considering that you yourself went from Kingman, Arizona to Harrisonburg, Virginia, to purchase a piece of detonation cord that you could easily have gotten at the hardware store where you worked, I don't think that's unbelievable. You went to Harrisonburg, Virginia because you wanted to deal with a certain individual. Terry Nichols could easily have gone 15,000 miles to learn how to build a bomb, which you could never detonate and explode other than to break a small rock before he came back from the Philippines. He said, well, I assure you I don't know anything about that. And I said, I believe you. I think you've been truthful with me on that. So I conclude by telling you that I accepted the responsibility without reservation. I thought it needed to be demonstrated that a small-town lawyer could defend a case such as this with all the publicity and infamy and feelings and death and destruction that it went with. And in a larger sense, I was right. In the 18 years since I have returned to Enid, Oklahoma, I live in the same house. I office at the same location. I go to the same meeting of the Enid Rotary Club, the same church. And in Oklahoma City, I walk from my apartment 5 blocks to my office, which is on the street level, with my name on the front door, and 1.5 blocks from where the Murrah building stood. I have never been harassed. I've never been stalked. No one has ever created an incident toward me. I think that, surprisingly, the people in Oklahoma understood that Tim McVeigh was entitled to a zealous representation. And I am humbled by the fact that by their feeling toward me, they have demonstrated that they believe that I met the goal that I set for myself. Thank you for having me here today, and good luck to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. That was people like you make the practice of law a profession rather than a business, and very noteworthy. Thank you very much. I wish you could talk for another hour. A book recognizing today's program will be donated to our partner in education school, Celia Clinton Elementary. It's called, oddly or maybe appropriately, Greek Gods. And so, Mr. Jones, if you will inscript something in there for us, we'd appreciate it. A reminder of some upcoming programs. On April 15th, Jamie Jacob will talk about unmanned aircraft research at the OSU Medical and Aerospace Engineering. I think that may be drones. What greater topic could you have than drones? April 22nd, Joey Hoffmeister, our State Superintendent of Public Education, or Public Instruction, sorry, will be our speaker. So make sure and note those on your calendars. As we conclude, President Ronda's music selection today is Lean on Me by Bill Withers. Please enjoy. We're adjourned.